हाँ मैं पोस्ट कर रही हूँ ये पैन और फिर मुझे हैंड हेल्ड ही दे देना इसके साथ बिकॉज उनको कॉलर माइक वगैरह अभी बंद कर दो टाइम लगेगा 5 मिनट तो लग जाएगा
वीडियो लगाएंगे तो हैंग होता है हैंग लगा तो आया था बंद मुझे बैटरी देख ले ठीक है उसमें डाला है ना यहाँ पे चेक कर टॉप में यूज कर सकते हो इधर यू वांट बैटरी देखो तो
I asked Shitanshu, he said 9:10. It's 9:05 or so. Let's not go too. She's just in the washroom. But let's not do too late also. It's fine. We should start.
Schedule-wise feels good today. Nothing much. Start with.
See, it's not fair to wait too long also. At the same time, we want some people. So I think 9:10 kind of is. Hi.
मैडम पकड़ ले रहा हूँ मैडम को माइक लगा
That's it. Oh, I keep losing my badge.
माइक
Badge. Okay. On, right? रेड का कोई एक्स्ट्रा है तो दे दो इवन ब्लैंक नहीं है तो कोई बात नहीं लास्ट डे है
I'll take it from Chitanshu for now. Since you will be on time, he'll be sitting. I'm taking it.
Yeah, it's okay. Can I borrow your red badge for a while? Just I'll keep it ulta. And I'll give it back. I've left it somewhere downstairs. Huh? After the session, palatta hi hai na. Same initials we both have. SM1, SM2.
That's right.
No, I remember this. पहले भी ऐसे ही होता था. Oh, you are also SM. अरे वाह, you're SM3. SM1 clan. अभी we figured out.
I think that's it.
Yeah, we said 9:10, so almost. We'll start 9:10. ठीक है. Okay. So intros will then start. Hi. Sure. What's the name? Step Ram, good to go? Okay. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome back for the last day. Very happy to see many of you here. Well, things thin out, right? But I'm really happy to see that. And we're also happy to see the energy. You know, early in the morning, people have come and excited about their paper sessions, the closing, and of course, the keynote that we are just about to begin. So it's a great pleasure to introduce Professor Amina Charania from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. And I have a long bio for Amina here. I'll use that, of course, because there's a lot of accomplishments and interesting as well as important things here. But like our tradition, I'll also tell you a few things that are not in the bio, you know, how we've been interacting with her. So Dr. Amina Charania is a faculty at the Center for Excellence in Teacher Education, CET at TIS Mumbai. And she's one of the founding members of the Connected Learning Initiative. This is CLICS, right? Yeah, so many of you would have heard the acronym, the CLICS project, and reflective teaching with ICT. Before joining TIS, there was another large-scale projects of Tata Trust that she was involved in, which is when I think we got to know you more than 10 years ago. This was the ITE project. It's an integrated approach to technology in education way back in 2011, which means it would have been fairly current at those times. And she led it for over a decade, reaching several thousand students and teachers in marginalized contexts, rural communities. And I remember you had mentioned it was in Assam and West Bengal, right? Yeah. So currently she's leading a similar field action project called Technology-Enabled Learning for Teachers and Adolescents in the 21st Century. This is in government-run schools in migrant communities in Mumbai. So, I mean, as a scholar like all of us, she has lots of publications. You'll find her formal bio, you'll find her papers on the several sites and all. But what the interactions we've had with Amina for the past several years is anything that relates to effective and meaningful integration of technology with teachers. We've called her. Hey, can you give us advice on this? How do we run this project? Okay, so she's helped us a lot in some of our own projects over the few years. And also the experience that Amina has on the field, that's invaluable for researchers worldwide. So with that, I'll hand over to Amina and welcome to T4E, which is run by the EdTech Society. You have this.
I have
a mic. You need both because this is for the recording. You can either use this or a collar mic that may be hands-free.
So is there a clicker?
Yeah, it's right there. Everything is borrowed. Badge, program book.
Okay, I should be able to see. That's okay. Yeah. So do you want me to use this mic?
You will need to use either the handheld or the collar mic.
Okay, so is
this plus one more. Arjun, dono chahiye hoga. One is for the audience.
Okay.
Yeah. One is for the live room, one is for the stream.
Okay, sure.
Away from that.
Okay. Okay. Fine. So can you hear me? I think this is good. Okay. So thank you so much, Dr. Sahana Murthy, for such a good introduction and also adding a lot of context to this introduction. Very happy to be here, and thank you so much, Education Technology Society and IIT Bombay for inviting. I'll right away start, but also congratulations for completing such a successful conference and 2 days of it. So I think that's great. I see a diversity of participants here, so that's great to see. To start with the presentation today, I think my plan is very ambitious, but I'll just go a little fast at certain places also. To start with, just a very brief introduction. Sahana has already introduced the center. This is a small introduction about the Center of Excellence in Teacher Education. Besides field action projects and large-scale teacher professional developments and international collaborations, we also run MA Education, B.Ed MID, PhD program in education, and very recently we've launched last year MA in Education and Technology. These are some of the field action projects and research projects in education technology at the center, running for many, many years, starting from 2015. And I think what our journey has been, large-scale state programs to then moving also into the South Asian geography with teacher professional development and scaling. This is some reach that we have just in education technology. Sahana has already spoken about CLICS and IT geographies, which actually covers almost maximum of states in India. And I think last 3 years we have started looking at Africa, Global South, and also South Asian regions. Mostly scaling up the teacher professional development and the CLICS program in these geographies. Some of the accolades, I think those are very diverse. To start with, today the focus of my presentation is on teacher professional development, and I'll be looking at just one case study from a decade-long program and drawing out some learnings from it. To start with, I think this is well known in the area of teacher professional development, some of the facts that teacher professional development globally has evolved over time, looking at very skill-based programs for teachers, to moving to standards-based and student outcomes, to now also looking at teachers' own professional development and their own lifelong learning, and emphasizing also on teacher own development when they do TPD. So that has been a long journey in teacher professional development over time. Leveraging technologies, as you all know, have been very rampant for last decade as well. Delivery mode has definitely changed over time, at least the research documents moving over time from one short workshop to looking at continuous professional development. So that has been a trend even globally in teacher professional development. There's a lot of literature which says what is effective teacher professional development, and Darling, Hammond and others are very significant researchers who have emphasized continuity of professional development, which is something which is more practice oriented, which is looking at subject area integration. So these are very common components coming in research about what is effective teacher professional development. Very recently, you must have also heard about how even in India, there is a mentoring mission which was part of national education policy. And so the emphasis is also looking at, in terms of delivery, to not only a workshop mode or a certificate course mode, not only continuous mode, but looking at more personalized efforts, which comes through one-to-one mentoring, setting up mentoring mission for teacher professional development. So these are some of the trends in teacher professional development that we are also seeing in India and also in national education policy. TPD is also effective if there is a chance to scale, especially in a country like India. We need TPD that is not only very good in small pockets, but also which has the capacity and designed to scale. That is very important. So, for example, activity theory, which is not only looking at the pedagogy of teacher professional development, but also looking at the ecosystem, the state, the policies. So, looking at an overall emphasis on teacher professional development, which will allow scale. Not cascade, there is enough literature which says that to scale the cascade model, that is you train someone and that person trains someone else, you call master trainers. It is something which is very, very practical to use in our country, but it has been heavily criticized because of these reasons which are already documented in literature. It just loses out quality and it dilutes. Also takes away teacher or the teacher trainers agency, because sometimes you're just copy and pasting somebody else's training and then you're used to just do that. So there are a lot of other literature which says cascade is not a very good model. In Indian context, NEP has emphasized teacher should be the center of education initiatives and should leverage technology meaningfully. Indian government has, as you all know, Diksha, Nishtha. This is also a type of teacher professional development which is looking at large-scale access, giving access to teacher professional development content, resources in multiple languages, so that it gaps the opportunity, it kind of gaps the divide of opportunity for large scale teachers in the country. The other approach that diets take, those are the district training institutes who has the capacity to actually do physical training, but there are a lot of gaps. Our recent study at CETE has looked at one of the northern states' diet, and it seems that they need staff, they need infrastructure, and it needs a lot of efforts to strengthen the local diets to do teacher professional development. So at one point we have large scale platformization which allows teacher professional development, but it comes with its own challenges. At the same time you have local institutions, but that also needs to be strengthened. A lot of initiatives you must have heard about, the community of practice groups set up by different states, which works for some time and then it needs continuous efforts and sustainability. But the bilateral organizations, the PPP model, I think there are a lot of efforts right now going in the entire country at state level, and every government wants to do something about teacher professional development. And leveraging technology is something which is seen across. So this is just setting up what's really happening in the ecosystem of teacher professional development. Yeah. Large-scale government-initiated TPD, but there are also concerns about, this kind of a TPD can be used as a resource, can be built on, but cannot be an end in itself. I mean, you can't expect teachers to go on Nishtha and Diksha and get trained, right? So it cannot be an end in itself, but the resources can be used. This study that I recently found, World Bank, which is looking at the lower income countries and middle income countries, and they're saying large scale programs initiated by government, you cannot not do it because that's what you should be doing at scale in these countries. But at the same time, at least they should not miss out on these 4 things. So there should be linked to career incentives, which will motivate teachers. It should have subject content as focus and not very generalized. Include time for practicing with other teachers. And it should have a follow-up. It should not be a one-time workshop and then you start over again with a different topic. So these are some of the recommendations also coming from this 2018 report. Now, I'll start with our own TPD journey because this is a decade-long case study that we have worked on. And a lot of things that we have learned also talks to the literature review that we just spoke about. So we'll kind of go back and forth. This case study, the way we have approached, it was pretty organic. So it's not something that we did for 7-8 years and then we looked at an impact. It was very organic. It depended on who was funding, which government was interested. So the data that supports some of the learning of this 10-year journey is very, very non-linear. So it's kind of a meta-analysis of data within this 10 years that has allowed us to create knowledge around TPD. So this TPD case study that I will be talking about today is about just one particular course that evolved from what Sahana introduced, the integrated approach to technology in education, and moving this constructivist teaching and learning with technology over time in 10 years. So what kind of forms this TPD took over time? Forms and, how did it change? The names changed and, what did we learn? And some teachers did not change over 10 years. We still have with us those teachers. So CTLT, this case study means teaching and learning that fosters students to engage deeply and construct learning by making something. So mostly this looks at project-based learning with technology approach integrated within the curriculum and also the authentic context of students. So the teacher professional development that enables teachers to introduce a pedagogy like this in their classrooms is basically what we mean by project-based learning with technology, which was a very central part of this teacher professional development. So just setting the context, this is the trajectory over time from 2012 to 2022 of this particular teacher professional development. So we'll go in a little bit of details on each of these phases. In 2012 to 2016, since it was the teacher professional development came with the action project on ground with students, teacher professional development mostly with NGO teachers, and slowly integrating government teachers who were interested. This is like going village to village, district to district, and doing face-to-face workshops on what is project-based learning with technology, what is constructivist learning, allowing teachers to make lesson plans, implement. So very face-to-face, but very workshop kind of a model, and doing follow-up only when it was convenient or whenever it was feasible, but not necessarily continuous. Then came 2017 and 2019, where the same TPD got converted, sitting in an academic body at TIS, and converting some of the learning and the workshop and the content into a certificate course. And this model basically then went into the mainstream system from 2017 to 2019 with government teachers. So sitting in academia, giving credential, building on phase one experience, and allowing teacher professional development into a very formal mode, academic mode. 2009, and this was the blended mode, the workshop and then continuity. 2019 to 2022 is where this teacher professional development got converted into an online mode, got split into two. Digital badges were added later on because that was kind of something also came with a partnership with Open University UK, and they brought the concept of digital badges, which allowed flexibility if the teachers do not want to do certificate course. So that's the entire thing. Over time, the scale of reaching through teacher professional development grew from, say, 500 teachers to 5,000, and indirectly 8,000 to 10,000. So as the academic credential and the formal system seeped in, also the scale kind of increased. This is just a snapshot of what the face-to-face trainings looked like. Very messy, but it was very effective in the sense that it was still very practice-based. Teachers would sit together, find lessons from the textbooks, and plan how their children will create with technology. If it's a weather or climate in geography chapter, hardly 3 to 4 pages in textbook, but teachers would actually plan how they will research and find weather and climate in their own context and then compare across districts. So very, very simple, but very, very practice-based and still connected to curriculum. Phase 2 is what I've already described. This is what it looked like, 4 months duration and blended mode. So we start with the workshop because that is what we built on from our first phase, which was very effective, this residential workshops. But doing residential workshops with NGO teachers is very different than doing residential or non-residential or physical face-to-face workshops with government teachers. So how do you make teachers sustain for 36 hours in 4 days and engage with that rigor? And I think practice-based was really the USP of engaging teachers. At least on the 3rd day, they would start engaging because they would find something relevant and something which could be easily implemented in classroom. After face-to-face mode, they would go into about 45 hours of implementation in their classroom. This was like a 4 months duration. That means they would make something in the face-to-face, a lesson plan, implement with your peers, but in the distance mode, they would go and implement with real students and then come back on the Moodle and reflect and put their reflections. Come on the WhatsApp, put a picture of what they have implemented. So not only this, I think this blended mode was quite ambitious. After they have already gone back and implemented in their classroom, they would go and also become a trainer and train other teachers in their district. So this is like a cascade model that we use, but so whatever the cascade model is criticized for, we were very much aware when we started this. We still use this, but we named it differently. Not only named it differently, we designed it differently. So we said we don't want to cascade, but we want to use a nested approach. So what is nested approach? That you just don't train someone and leave them. Okay, now you train others, but when they are training others, you are also, your team is present there. And you use also WhatsApp groups and community of practice groups to even reach out to the last mile teacher. So in a way, we used a nested approach. It's not something that we designed and then we analyze. It's something which happened organically. Just working with teachers and understanding what would be convenient. So this largely happened in West Bengal and Assam, and then slowly also in the state of Uttar Pradesh. The objectives of this course were very similar to what we had in phase 1, which was face-to-face. It's very important to understand that this course built on phase 1, and also it built in the ecosystem of CLIX and IT. So MIT, working with CLIX, brought a lot of ideas which actually helped shape this course. And this course also went and set into a larger certificate course on reflective teaching with ICT. So also the course sitting into the other systems kind of strengthened it. So this became a foundation course for other courses, say in science, reflective science with technology, reflective mathematics in technology, reflective language in. So this became a foundation course which gives a kind of an active pedagogy using technology and then move into subject focus. In fact, some of the NGO teachers who were there in first phase, we kind of invited them to join the academic space here. They took a master's level course in education technology, and that kind of, and one is sitting here today, and that kind of encouraged and helped scaling, because they are not only learning from the workshops and then scaling, but they are also getting an opportunity to engage in academic courses that build their capacity building and go back to the community. So it was quite organic, but it looks like the process, it looks like a very set design, but it was very organic in a way. These are some of the snapshots. In the phase 2, which was blended mode, we did not have very good learning management system. We did not invest much in a good learning management system. We just picked up something because we just wanted students to come and dump their reflections on Moodle. WhatsApp worked better, but here we just needed a system where teachers would come and upload their reflection. So there is continuity, there is a completion, there is some system in place. So this was not a very well managed, but it just worked at that time. We created certain modules and resources which would help teachers to go train others. So they also have some curriculum. Some of the findings from this blended mode talk about, how teachers indicated transfer. So these are the findings coming from interviews of teachers who completed the course and became master trainer, because then they also trained others. So it shows some transference of IT pedagogy, which is the project-based learning with technology pedagogy. It was interesting that it was not only working when they were using technology in their classrooms, but even when they were not able to use technology in the classroom, they were using activity-based approach. So that's kind of a transference even when technology was not used. So it shows a pedagogic transference. Pre and post survey, of course, shows their ICT skills improved and their perception about, for example, in one of this survey, the question was, who is the most important person in the school to use technology and teach? So earlier they would say a computer teacher. And slowly after this course, because this course was for regular teachers, they actually started taking responsibility, and we could see that they would say, no, I'm also responsible. It's not just computer teachers. So these kind of shifts were seen in data. Very recent, not very recently, 3 years back, we went back to these teachers in 2020 in the COVID period, and we realized that we did a small study with interviews and survey again, and we found that these teachers who completed, who had a very high engagement with our phase 2, were also more likely to use activity-based approach in the COVID period. They were more likely to use distance technologies in the COVID period. So we published that, which was, I think, which was very useful finding for us, that it's after 3 years or after 4 years for some teachers, they are able to transfer their learning into newer contexts, which COVID was a new context. So I think that was quite useful. Of course, main challenges were when we made the phase 2, it was all in English. I think we picked a lot of articles like Chris Dede, which our other MA students read, and 21st Century Skills, Internet, Unholy Marriage. We picked up all these master's level and we summarized it, we contextualized it, but also, and gave it to the teachers, and I think a few teachers also asked for original articles to read, which was not surprising, but it was quite encouraging that teachers also want to read something which our masters and PhD students read. So I think that was good that we summarized and then started translating, but still we were not there to match that language proficiency in those regional languages. Yes, implementation of trainings that these teachers will do to others would heavily depend on government letters to do it. So I think sometimes the course was also extending to 6 months. I'll talk, I think, less about this. I think we'll see some few pictures. So this is the model that comes out of the phase 2, which also shows that how, as the technologies become more diverse and more sophisticated, it started supporting more pedagogies, and that pedagogies, and you can call that it was not only practice-based as in phase 1, but this was practice-based not only with peers, but the distance mode and the use of technology allowed practice with their real students so that they understand the challenges and then reflect on it. Seamless communication, a WhatsApp group would buzz for the entire period of this 4 months. Transferability, we could see from the data. Scalability was possible through nested model, and learning support was very, very rigorous. And we were learning, of course. I don't think the kind of learning support that you will see in some of these slides, I don't think those are sustainable. So we felt very good about giving a lot of learning support, but are these learning support sustainable? If you keep scaling, I'm not sure. So we really have to be creative in understanding and finding sustainable learning support. Yeah. Okay, so phase 3 was the blended mode actually converting into a totally online mode. Now this was a need because that blended mode was very expensive, it had a lot of efforts, and it only comes with very dedicated funding to do that, right? So otherwise it's not sustainable. So it was very important that we move towards a totally online mode, basing our experience from phase 2. And we converted our course into totally online, and we split the course into 1 and 2. 1 was everything I said. Second was, if they want to become master trainers, and train, then they would come back to us. And then we would give them more content and pedagogy on how to train others. In 2021, it also got split into small digital badges because 2-3 states came to us and said, all this is fine, but our teachers may not be able to sustain your course for 8 weeks or 6 weeks, even if it's online. So we got into like the micro credit digital badges. It would be two weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And that worked in the COVID model. And of course, with support from Open University UK, who came with this digital badge and working with them. Okay, I'm going to skip all this. Yeah, so this was kind of assessment, reflective practice. In online mode, we also introduced peer assessment because when teachers were making lesson plans, instead of our staff and faculty sitting and going through it, we actually introduced peer assessment, and this time we had a very good learning management system. We had moved to our own learning management system, T6. So we could integrate peer assessment. We were quite apprehensive that teachers who have never done an online course now doing peer assessment online. So we actually made very good videos demonstrating how to do peer assessment. We were apprehensive, but our research data shows teachers loved peer assessment. I think one of the reasons they said was we were more careful about how we write our lesson plans and how we write our reflections, because we know our peers are going to read it and they are going to grade us. So, so the system allowed at least 3 peer assessments and then would take an average out of it. And if no one responds, which would be only 5% of cases, then it would go back to staff graded. So it was kind of built in the system. Yeah, I'll just go fast now. Yeah, this was a case where UNICEF came on board and they said, we want this course. So what we did was, we did a certificate course for 2 credits. And then when it came to training other teachers, we moved to digital badge. So there was no academic credential in digital badge, but it would just allow that kind of a flexibility. So this is what the digital badge. So they have to first complete the certificate course, implement PBLT with their students, get a little confidence about the approach. And a lot of teachers were using face-to-face classes or sometimes even online classes to complete that implementation. Implementation was graded. They have to do implementation, they get feedback around it, they have to reflect, and then if they want, they can move to digital badge where they would train other teachers. So it was kind of a hybrid mode, certificate, and then if you want to come back and take a master trainer digital badge. And digital badge would also put the funder symbol, the partners, the state symbol, so that would also, now in a certificate, which is an academic credential, you can't do that. So that kind of also worked practically. This was the completion rate with the UNICEF course, just the first part, the certificate course. So I think our online mode certificate course had around 50% on an average completion rate. So compared to the blended mode, we had blended mode where we had small groups of teachers and they would come in the workshop, then move into distance. I think the completion rate was around 90 to 99%. When we moved to online and at scale, I think there's something about the number 50. Even when we do teacher professional development online certificate course with private school teachers in other courses, somehow it hits the number 50% as completion. So that's where it was hitting. Yeah, this is like master trainers going back and doing trainings for the digital badge. Sometimes they would do online training, sometimes they would do face-to-face trainings. It would be their choice and the state would support that. So this is the model that comes out of the phase 3, which is totally online mode. What is the difference between what we had in phase 2 and phase 3 is, I think, shareability and recognition. I think with digital badge, it became more easier for them to share their recognition, because that's also a characteristic of what digital badge allows you. with clickable, anybody can click, see a credential, see what you have done. It's easily shareable. So I think that's what it gives. It gives adaptability. That means you can stop at certain point and decide not to come back. So it also gave them adaptability. Otherwise, the other and seamless communication, yes. Otherwise, most of the factors were similar to blended mode. So this is just a trajectory. It's basically, we don't have to go into details in this, but it's trying to show that as technology became, we added more technology, it influenced pedagogy and it also influenced scale. So how the scale moved and the pedagogy became more sophisticated and it was supported by more and more technology and more advanced technologies. So in a nutshell, features that worked. I think strong learning support during the course was extremely important. This is what it would entail, especially whatever is in the green was added in the totally online phase. So online class and help sessions, weekly email reminders, early course mentors was something new in this phase that we found. So earlier we used to always rely on master trainers who had completed a course. In this UNICEF course, what we realized was there are certain teachers who are completing before time. Maybe very, say 2%, 3%. We would pick them while the course is running, make a separate group of them, and they would become early mentors. We would give them 20 teacher names and phone numbers, and they would start calling. Now, this really helped also because in the interviews, we found that teachers would relate more to them. They would also speak a local dialect, and they would also tell them what challenges they faced and encourage them. So I think I should not speak, I should just yeah.
One second.
जो गांव है वहां से जो टीचर्स को एक प्लेटफॉर्म मिलना चाहिए. These groups were primarily used to address the course related queries of the participants. Our team members would be active on these groups on a daily basis for almost 13 to 14 hours responding to these queries, and our response time has been less than 15 minutes till now. We would also send weekly reminder emails to the participants from the TISEX platform. We also shared weekly tips with the participants. We also conducted weekly meetings with the state.
Also, it's very rigorous, and you have to find more sustainable ways. Some data from the survey findings also kind of supported that WhatsApp groups or Telegram groups, certain states told us, these were in 8 states, certain states told us, we do not want Telegram. Our teachers are already on WhatsApp, use that. So I think teachers found support mostly from WhatsApp or Telegram groups. That was their most important channel. And also attendance on the orientation event, which would be synchronous, because that would give them some face to the person. So I think those were the 3 main important things where they would get support from. And then, yeah, some preliminary sociogram analysis that we have done, which shows that the frequency of participation on WhatsApp groups and also the kind of nodes, I mean, how many people they are connected to, was directly related to their performance in the course. So we found some hero teachers on WhatsApp, and they were the ones who got A and A plus grades. So there was direct connection between these two. Yeah, there is a video here.
हमें अपने साथी जो थे जो है हेल्प करनी थी. जैसे अगर उन्हें कोर्स में कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, कहीं वो अटक रहे हैं, तो हमें उनको ओरिएंट करना था, हमें उनको हेल्प करनी थी। और ये जो प्रोसेस था ये मेरे लिए भी काफ़ी हेल्पफुल था, क्योंकि जो मेरी कोर्स की लर्निंग थी उसको हम रिवाइज कर पा रहे थे, और जब हम अपनी जो लर्निंग है उसको शेयर करते हैं तो वो कहीं ना कहीं बहुत अच्छे से इन्हांस होती है।
I had the opportunity to play the role of early mentor after completion of my first step course in due time. And in that time, I had to uh, take the responsibility of 29 teachers who were not able to complete the course in due time. So I helped them a lot, personally dialed to them, conversed with them, and what the problem they were facing, I tried.
हमें अपने
mentors was very, very important in the course. These are some of the content and pedagogy. I think the rigor is what we've already discussed, I think, and yeah, the practice base that we have already discussed has also become one of the features that helped completion rates and also high engagement of the teachers. Yeah. Thirdly, authentic assessments, peer assessments that we have already spoken. So these are some of the features that I'm just kind of revising and concluding that these are the features that helped. Flexible accreditation also, we've discussed that it's not only that everyone has to aim for the certificate or digital badge, they have an exit option. So earlier our course was 4 credits. So when it became 2 credits, it became a little flexible and not everyone wanted to become a trainer. But we realized that the opportunity to become a master trainer is something that the teachers usually don't get. It's always the diet faculty or someone else from. So that also became motivating factor for teachers that I will be training. And in fact, in the UNICEF supported course, the teachers themselves would select whom they want to train if the state doesn't mind. So they would select their own teachers, they would select the neighboring teachers. Sometimes they would call the teachers face to face, even in COVID in their school, and do it. And sometimes also do hybrid, sometimes do online. So it was kind of a mix. I think that autonomy, that it's okay, you train the way you want, was very useful. And it also gave them some kind of a pride that I'm training others, and the way other teachers look at me. In fact, they started making their own WhatsApp groups with their own trainees. One thing that is constantly coming from phase 2 is the trainees whom they are training are asking for a digital badge. They're saying, why can't we get the digital badge? Why can't we get the certificate? So in our system, we have thought a lot, but this is recurring. What about us? So we said, okay, you continue with your WhatsApp group, and if you find teachers who have done at least one lesson implementation, you let us know, and then we will circulate this digital badge further. But I think that is something we have not been able to work enough. But those teachers feel, you are getting everything, you are training, what are we getting? So I think for teachers, it's very important that getting that credits, getting that kind of recognition. Yeah, leadership and mentoring, I think is something that we have already looked, but this early mentoring and the earlier master trainer kind of really helped giving a nested approach and giving, connected. One interview study that we did about why are mentors still interested, and some of the things that came out, that mentors said that we are interested and we want to come back and keep mentoring other teachers because they like the academic connect. So it's not only the course. If we have any conference, we call them. If we also started a fellowship for some of these teachers. So it would be like a TIS, Tata Trust Fellowship for teachers who would come and do action research with us, spend some days. So I think that academic connect, also some of the teachers said that motivates us to continue to be mentors. Learn new things, the benefit of impacting students' learning. All these are the things that came up in this interview. Yeah, I won't go through everything, but also one important finding that came was some of the mentors in the digital badge course in the COVID period, they said, because we have done this course in the blended mode, that gave us confidence to do mentoring. And what really got transferred is something that comes out in this study, that we understand the geography and we were able to mentor in a totally online mode because of prior experience. Yeah. I think it's academic connect not only for teachers but a lot of facilitators and also the staff who is rigorously basically giving learning support to these teachers from TIS. For them also academic connect to continue is very important. They go and present in academic conferences. They have international collaboration. So it's not only teachers but also the learning support team at TIS. I think that's also academic connect comes very strongly and motivates the learners and their facilitators. Acknowledgement in their peer groups. So we actually did graduation ceremonies for the teachers who completed the blended mode. In fact, this picture that comes from a teacher, this was a graduation ceremony for master's students in Guwahati campus. And we integrated a certificate graduation with it. I mean, that was huge honor. And this teacher is still a mentor with us. So I think that really matters to the teachers, that the state, the academia, their own leadership acknowledges them. Yeah, one survey also gave us some insights. Who were these who dropped out? Why did they drop out? And I think the first top 3 reasons are something that we are familiar with, nothing new. Lack of time, poor internet connectivity, and difficulty using the TISX platform. Those were some of the findings that came very strongly. Yeah, I'll just, how much time do we have? 5 minutes. I'll just summarize some of the reflections that, just afterthoughts of this. In phase 3 implementation across 8 states, there were also some teacher educators, not only teachers, who were taking the same course. It was very difficult to convince the teacher educators to do assignments where they have to go down to school students. They said, we are teacher educators, we don't work with students, school students. And we said, for this course, you will have to enter a student classroom and implement, which was very difficult for them. They said, we have not done it many years. But for this assignment, many went down and completed. So that was very important. We did not find any significant difference in the grades or completion between teachers or teacher educators in this course. So teacher educators were not superior from the teachers. So that is something which was, I think we knew, but the findings were just right out there. There was a strong relationship between a higher number of teacher runs and completion rates with greater support. So the states were very supportive. Their leadership would come from weekly meetings. They would send the reminders and letters to teachers for completion. That kind of a state and the leadership taking part, actually, you can see a correlation of completion rates and number of runs were very high for those states. So that's very obvious, but it's also coming out from our data. What is very important is this linear progression that we saw in our case study, that face-to-face, then blended, then online. There is no linear progression. So we think, okay, we have done face-to-face, now we have moved to blended, and now the new technology has come. Now we have moved to online, and any new context, if you go, you can directly start from online, is a myth. So what we did was, now that we are in Mumbai and we were in COVID, so we said, we have all the TISX platform, we have all the translations, we have all the resources, let's start online, and we failed. It just flat failed, the teachers were not responding. What we realized was, when we moved into new geographies in the UNICEF, even though it was a new context, it worked because there was a state blessing, there was a state support, and there was UNICEF support. So that kind of worked in new contexts. We ourselves going to district of Mumbai, taking all the permissions, but the entire state doesn't have a buy-in, it doesn't work. You need a high buy-in. Also, these teachers were very, very new to this concept. So now what we do with Mumbai schools is we went back to our blended mode. So we do face-to-face workshops and then we put them into online. Some teachers come to TIS campus because we work in MWard. They come to TIS campus, they feel very honored, they feel very good. That worked for some time, and now we are going inside the schools and doing small workshops and then slowly taking them into online platform to complete digital badges. Yeah, these are some testimonials from the states. Yeah, so I'm done. This was also supported by Soini. I've not put all the references, and this is our MA in Education Technology program. We are soon going to start seminars, and these are our other certificate courses. The certificate courses that I talked about was this one, Constructivist Teaching and Learning, but then there are other certificate courses.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Okay, thank you, Amina. This was a very vast and, interesting, insightful set of reflections as well as data that you showed. We have some time for questions, and the way we are doing it is we can take questions from here. We also have a Padlet where people have already started posting questions. So we'll kind of alternate. But because you talked about state support and all, one of the questions is related to that. So maybe I'll just start with that.
Sure.
And the question is, how does earning of a digital badge or certificate link to career incentives of teachers? Was it approved by the respective state governments?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Yeah, the career trajectory is something which is aspirational for us. We tried with one state and it kind of, so with the state of Assam, we worked because we had long history with state of Assam. And I think the leadership in state of Assam said, let them complete the digital badge and we will use this credential and consider this credential for their promotion because they were building that system. But it did not go that way. I mean, there were talks, but it did not go that way. One recent example I have from one of the states, I can't name the state at this stage, but they have come back, they have done a certificate course and they said, but this is not enough. They are not getting anything out of it. They said, can you do a master's program for them and take those who completed your certificate course and we'll fund them. So I think it's very encouraging to see that the state is also thinking of academic trajectory of these teachers, not only the promotion trajectory. So I think there the answer is there are efforts, there is willingness, and also NEP talks about it, but still we have to see the light of it. It's not there yet. Yeah.
Okay, there are two questions. I'll start from here. Please introduce yourself in one line.
Yeah, hi, I'm Lakshmi. I work with a not-for-profit. Thank you for the wonderful talk, very insightful of a decade long of work that you have done. I have a couple of questions, but the first one I will ask is, so you spoke about completion rates and, you spoke about how they get the certificate. But how does all this translate to practice? Because what really happens and what I have seen from little of implementation is there is a lot of uptake in terms because this is new and there is a prestige that you are kind of, ICT teacher or a trainer. But then in terms of practice, we kind of see that they go back to their the traditional method, and what do you see in that? That's the first one. The second one is more in terms of I really liked that the teachers here who are master trainers or trainers were also practicing in the sense that they were also teaching subjects. But there's another model that's emerging, especially in India, especially in Delhi, is that they are completely taken off the teaching load and they are just mentors. They are teacher mentors, right? So what are your thoughts on this? These are my two questions.
Do we take all the questions or
no?
I can take this one.
Take this one.
Okay.
We will try to get
Okay. So I think first question about practice. So we were very aware of it. So that's why the assignments that they have to do to complete, they have to do an implementation in the class. Understand the challenges, show us the evidence, reflect on it, and then they complete the course. So practice was very much part of the course. Now, whether this one-time practice will actually see the life of practicing regularly is a very different question. So I think this continuous, because this is something they come to us for 4 months or 6 months earlier, but something which has to continue in their state. So maybe some have started taking part in ICT, some have become state mentors, some have been doing little bit or come back to us. I think that continuity, and it's a long process, it won't happen after the course. In fact, our just recent efforts are towards maybe also applying for larger research which looks at sustainability of this. That what percentage are now sustaining it. They may not use PBLT or technology in each and every lesson. Even that's not something which is desirable. But is it sustainable? How much? Our earlier interview findings showed that there was a transference, but we need to go back and understand. So long-term practice, we don't know. We have not been able to go back and find out. But that is something we aspire to do. Second question was about the second. Yeah, so that is very luxurious. I was asking one of the state head if you can do it, if these teachers take a master's which is online, can you give them some time away? And it depends on the state, and at least this state said no. Infosys chairman said, or ex-chairman said, you have to work 70 hours a week. So our teachers are hardly working 30. I think they should do both. So, so I think it depends on state, but that's a very good model. In fact, we have a very working paper which talks about circular mobility. That, allow teachers to do mentoring for a few months and then go back to classroom. So some kind of a circular mobility which allows it should not be always linear that now they are promoted, they will not go back to classroom. Some kind of a circular mobility will be good. Yeah.
Yes, so there is a lot of takeaway. Yeah, so I'm Kavita. I come from the Directorate of Higher Education, Goa. And thank you, ma'am, for a great takeaway out of this talk. I have two questions in terms of TPD. Okay. So we have a faculty enrichment program where we depute faculty to various premium institutions like IIT Goa, BITS Goa, and NIT Goa. And the faculty spends a semester there and actually assists in teaching learning process in the institution. But the major challenge we face is when they come back and we get into the follow-up process, and then how that can impart to the respective institution in terms of training the other faculty in the context of the cultural aspect as well as the academic aspect. So your advice on the process of effectiveness and the follow-up which can be standardized, or there should be some instruments or tools which should be designed in this respect. Your advice on this, ma'am, please.
So I think I need to understand this a little bit much better, but I think from our experience, this going back and influencing your peers would again lead to a very isolated cascade approach. In our experience, little bit what we have seen is whom you are going back to and kind of transferring whatever your knowledge and skills has to be part of that capacity building right from the start. So that whom you are percolating to also become part of the process. And it's not only you being part of that larger capacity building. So that's how we tried. For example, sorry, we don't have much time. But for example, the first assignment in the blended mode after they were away in the distance mode was 5 marks. I mean, these are teachers, they love marks, right? But it won't work with university faculty. 5 marks. Go back, go to your school, chai time, whatever time, headmaster room, use whatever. Go back and just talk about what you did. Post a picture there. That means you have actually shared, and they would do that. So that was part of their assignment in the course where they included the the actual environment within the capacity building. So I think that was something that even the other teachers felt, okay, she's doing the course, but I'm also part of it. She's also coming and training me. And then she's going back and reporting, and I'm getting feedback from the faculty about my performance, So I think that involvement, which is not easy, but still can be designed.
We have time for, I think, two really quick questions. One question, that is, so there were three people earlier. So what we'll do is I'll just go in the order in which the hands were up. But there is some good news that we'll seamlessly move into tea right after this. So everybody else who had hands raised, you can actually, I can just name them. So it was Nandan, the gentleman there, and then everybody else. So one quick question.
Thanks. I'm the BA PhD student. My question is about the course mentors, the idea. It's an interesting idea from an instructor's perspective, right? Utilizing those who complete the course early as a resource for the same course. But from a student perspective, from a diversity perspective, these learners may be fast learners and they may be expecting something more advanced knowledge from the same course. So aren't we not addressing that diversity of those learners?
Yeah. So everyone got the same course. The early mentors also got the same course. It's just that they were picking up fast. Now, one, we have not researched that, but our instinct is these were more urban teachers who picked up fast because they also had the advantage of infrastructure. So I think picking up fast may not be really to do about who they are, or but maybe it's just the infrastructure. They were just fortunate about infrastructure, so they picked up fast. They had good internet connection, and that kind of helped because the other teachers were able to relate to them better. Now we just found this opportunity. It was nowhere in the plan, and we made a different group, Telegram group, and say these are our early mentors. We gave them their names. You take 29 or whatever, 10. You just work organically. If it was not the COVID situation, we would have spent 1 month just getting the letter out for early mentors. So I think it just moved fast, and it was yeah, but I think there is some interview data which I don't remember right now, which sets apart early mentors a little different than the others. They were more experienced, they were more, maybe they had more exposure, and they had good infrastructure is what I would say. We have to see if they had more number of teaching years as well. There is no difference in the age. It's even the older teachers were early mentors, so there is no age difference there.
Okay, let's formally thank Amina right now. Mentors from Korea that went with to give her just as a thank you. And she will be here this morning. So, yes.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
There are a couple of announcements which I'll be ready.
Okay, so many of you came rushing in the morning and probably need a tea now. So we'll have the tea break now instead of going to the parallel session and then the tea break. So directly from here we'll go